that's it. I've got the hide up with a bit of sedge grass that I brought from a different location. I've put a similar decoy spread out. This season's major purchase, after a bit of advice from fellow wildfowlers, is this new Keeler belay jacket. What a piece of kit. It's too warm for a day like this. I'm literally in a t-shirt putting everything out, and even sat in the hide it's very warm, but on the 2 or 3 times I've used it so far, I've never had an outdoor coat like it, and I've had a lot of the big makes. Very warm, too warm at the minute, but absolutely totally waterproof. It's used by the military, and I think a lot of the squaddies seem to sell them off on eBay and Facebook, and that's how I got this. Although it's new in the packet, it was second hand, so I got a bit of a saving on it. A heck of a piece of kit. And so far, obviously we haven't been through any cold weather in it yet, majorly impressed. So comfortable, really warm. And I was out in a storm the other day, and a night on the radiator, good as new, and not a drop came in. The hood's good and comfortable. Yeah, excellent. I'm giving myself a bit more gun room this time, so I'm not snagging the barrels in the hide. So yeah, I should be able to crouch down and keep the muzzle out of the net. Well, finally ready. I'm not going to turn that mojo on until probably the last hour, until this is starting to fill up with water, because I'm not sure how much battery life it's got left, so I want it to keep spinning through high tide. So 35 gram, 1 1/4 ounce TSS and steel duplex, number 8 TSS, and number 3 zinc coated steel. Tide finally starting to push, just checking details. There's always quite a few snipe flying around when the tide starts to come in, and it pushes them off the tide's edge, and they start to fly around in little flocks. Well, they have done this season, and normally in the end I'll end up giving them a shot. It actually achieves a couple of things. It doesn't usually achieve a dead snipe, but often it pushes or flushes off ducks from the main estuary, and often you get them swirling around and coming in towards you after the shot. Didn't actually bring anything in on this occasion, but I was most confident in this day of the 3 days I shot these spring tides, because it was so stormy. I was quite convinced that there would be ducks wanting to come into this kind of side eddy, this sheltered bay, or relatively sheltered bay. It didn't actually kind of work out like that. It was the quietest of the 3. Just goes to show that they never follow the set rules that we think they will. Stormy weather, good for ducks. It was actually the worst flight of the 3 in terms of Wigeon numbers coming in. A bit of a mojo fail. The tide, it was about half a metre higher than the tide book says. Just goes to show that the tide height in the book is just a guideline. You've always got to be careful for these surges, and they was brought on by Storm Ashley. There was quite a surge on this tide, and it was probably about half a metre higher than it said in the book. Just another reminder to... That was a pair of mallard that came over. They weren't actually decoying in. They were crossing at a good 40-yard shot, and I missed them both on both barrels. And then the first, probably only Wigeon of the day. Missed it on the first shot, but managed to drop the drake on the second shot. It was quite a longish shot, especially for me. It was about 55 yard shot, and I did manage to give it a good bit of lead on the second shot, and it did plane off and drop dead right in the middle of that estuary. Right in the middle of that. The tide had turned by this point, and the wind was going away from me in that direction. I just took the shot, and the tide was running out. So I know I need a dog, and I've made reference to the fact that I desperately need a dog, hopefully for next season. But on this occasion, this is where the kayak really proves its worth, because I wouldn't have sent any dog of mine out into this torrent, and I wouldn't have liked to see anyone else's dog go out there either. You might not have seen it again, because it was really racing. I hardly had to paddle and I was cracking along at a fair old rate of knots, literally. And I came racing up on this Wigeon, which I managed to... I took a kind of a line, because I couldn't see it in the waves at first, but bumped into it, and I came racing up on this Wigeon without even really paddling. So yes, not having a dog is a bit of a disadvantage, but on days like this, the kayak really saves the day, and it's relatively safe. I mean, it is quite choppy, but I've been around about boats all my life, and I've been out in a lot worse than this, really. And so, if you're sensible, wear a life jacket and have your ejection plan worked out, it was quite safe. Always going broadside to the waves but nothing that challenged this boat. This kayak has got a nice deep keel, but you've always got to respect the conditions, and made it safely back. A good old bit of exercise. I was knackered after this. There was a farmer spreading slurry in the stubble just nicely upwind of me, and so I had to kind of move just to let him carry on spraying, so I didn't become part of I didn't become fertilised. So I'd probably had enough of the flight by this point, so I got out of the way of the fertiliser spreading, just went and sat at the head of the bay out the way. While I was there, a nice cock Wigeon came in and landed amongst the decoys. Shows how good the Final Approach Decoys out there, trying to spot the real one. He's coming in on the right, and he came in right into the centre of the spread and had a good look about for probably about a quarter of an hour before he swam off. It's more than enough fun for me for one flight, so I'll just sit it out here until I can go and get the decoys in and call it a day. Oh, it's far rougher than it looks out there.